let's get into it. Thank you. Thank you,
Of course.
Tiffany, for being
Thank
with me. I'm
thank you
so
so much.
glad. Absolutely. Yeah. So I want to start us off by saying, how did this, or how old were you when this infertility journey started for you? And when did you know that you needed help?
So our infertility journey is not as long as, yours or some other people's. Ours was quite brief, but, still just being in that part of the community, it's still very alienating and you still feel very alone. So my husband and I started trying to conceive probably at the end of 2017, early 2018. And so I'm one of those people, like, the more information I have, the less stressed out I feel. So I immediately started like tracking my cycles, trying to do more to know what I could do to help myself conceive. So we did a couple of months of trying and tracking and things like that. And I felt in my heart something was wrong. So the company I work for, they have a clinic that we can go to and the copay is really low. And I went and I told the doctor, I said, look, I feel like something's wrong. Are there some tests we can run? Not necessarily looking for a referral out or anything like that, but are there some tests we can run? And she laughed at me. It was really actually very insulting. She laughed at me. She's like, you haven't been trying that long. There's no reason. Like, no. She said, come back in another 8 months. And we'll talk about it then.
Wow.
So we went on for a couple more months doing the same thing. And, everybody was getting pregnant around me. It was really hard. And so I had another family practitioner because this was, for the company I work for. So I went to my regular family practitioner and I told him, I said the same thing. I said, I feel like something's wrong. Just, I can't explain it. I feel like something's wrong. And he said, okay, well, I'll send you a couple of tests, nothing like a referral out. And something, I'm not really sure what, but something came back kind of weird. So he sent us out with a referral for an RE, like right off the bat. He skipped over the OBGYN because I didn't have one. So he just kind of sent us to a fertility clinic. And that was, I felt like I was kind of jumping ahead, but it was okay with me. Like there was no point in going to an OB at that point. So I'm sorry, I'm kind of looking at my notes.
No, that's
So
good. I love it.
so my consult appointment with the fertility clinic actually fell at the perfect timing in my cycle to start an HSG that day, to do all the blood work, everything was so perfectly lined up for that initial consult. They sent me downstairs to get my HSG, make sure all my tubes were open. They ran all my blood work. They did ultrasounds. They looked at everything that they could look at on me on that day. They also sent me home with paperwork to get my husband to get his semen tested as well. So after looking at all of my test results and looking at his test results, we were diagnosed with male factor infertility. And it was devastating. It was devastating. So we started trying to conceive late 2017, early 2018, and we got this diagnosis in September of 2018. So it happened very quickly for us to get to the point where we were seeing someone.
That's
And
great.
yeah, and it's part of, you just have to know if you feel like something's wrong, you hire the doctors. You pay the bills. They work for you.
Right.
There's no reason they can't run tests if you ask for them.
That's right.
So we found out at the end of September that we had male factor infertility. And so they decided to try us on, they put my husband on Clomid, which is frequently used for women who have PCOS to get them to ovulate more or who are not ovulating by themselves. So if they put men on it, it actually ups their testosterone and potentially can boost their semen qualities. So the way that it works for men, they have to be on this medication for 3 months in order for it to actually affect the output. So we had to wait for 3 months with nothing going on, just no answers, nothing the whole time, just 3 months. And then he went in for another test. And I'm pretty sure that day I literally heard my husband's heart break. Nothing changed. And it was actually his testosterone went up, but nothing changed. We were given a 3 to 5, initially at our initial consult appointment, we were given a 3 to 5% chance to ever conceive naturally. And then when nothing changed, we were given an even lower percentage. So she told us, my RE told us that we could move forward with IUIs if we wanted to, or we can move forward with IVF. And that's what she would suggest for us. IVF is incredibly expensive, and insurance was not going to cover any of it for us down here.
Yeah.
So we decided to roll the dice and do some IUIs, because we could pay those out of pocket month to month, and it was going to be okay.
Yeah.
So we agreed to start doing some IUIs. So we did one natural cycle, and this whole time, my husband was on Clomid, which was $79 a month just for him, because insurance doesn't cover any of that. And then we did one natural cycle of IUIs, and then we did 2 Clomid cycles, 2 Femara cycles, and we were doing IUIs from January of 2019. We started our first IUI in January of 2019. We did one in February. We did one in March, in April. And April, when we were going up there to actually have the IUI procedure done, I talked to my husband. I said, if this one doesn't work, I would really like to consider IVF, and I told him, I know it's a lot of money, but I would really like to consider it. And he was kind of against it. He said it was a lot of money and it wasn't a guarantee, and that he didn't feel that he didn't want to play God, is what he was trying to say, basically. And I kind of explained to him that God would not have given us the opportunity to do something like that if we weren't, he wouldn't have given us IVF as a tool if we weren't meant to use it. So, and I told him money's replaceable. We can always earn more. And that building a family is something you only get to do once. And he said, if this one doesn't work, we'll consider it. So because I told him I wasn't going to go forward with any more IUIs and continue the heartbreak if IVF was out of the picture. Like, if you're done, I'm done. Like, I don't want to keep going through this if you don't want to keep going through this. So we went, and that one didn't work. The April one didn't work. We went back in May, and that was going to be my last cycle on Femara. And we had agreed to several IUIs. I think we had agreed on 6, and this was going to be our 5th one. And 2 days before, so a couple of days before they did the IUI procedure, my husband got sent out for another test. They were going to run a DNA fragmentation test, and they usually do it with male factor infertility, but it kind of depends on how many failed procedures you've had. So they ran a DNA fragmentation test on my husband, and 2 days before the actual IUI procedure, we got the results back that his DNA in his semen was actually fragmented as well, which dropped our chances to less than 1% of ever naturally conceiving. And even IUI would be a less than 5% chance each time. So
wow. So how old is he at this point?
So my husband is actually younger than I am. So I right now am 30, and he is 29, 8. He's a year younger than me, so he's a little bit younger than me. But
I think that's important, because for a lot of ladies who see this, they may just automatically think it's just them. And sometimes it is us, but sometimes it's the guy too.
Exactly. Studies show that it's 50% of the time it's male. Yeah, so we were given, even with IUIs and fertility drugs doing IUIs, we were given less than 3 to 5% chance of an IUI working. And yeah, so that day, since we kind of knew it wasn't going to work, that day we went and secured an equity loan, because we could cover most of the IVF out of pocket, but we went and secured an equity loan just so we didn't have to splurge our entire savings on IVF down here.
Yeah.
We secured a loan, and we went ahead and started the procedure to go ahead and do IVF, and we started signing all the paperwork that day, because we were so sure it wasn't going to work, and if we took out the loan and we didn't need it, then we could just pay it all back anyway.
True.
So sure enough, it didn't work. And in June of 2019, June 21st, I started my stem cycles. So my body really overreacted to all the hormones, and we retrieved a lot of follicles. I mean, an absurd amount.
Wow.
You want to talk OHSS? My body produced 50 follicles on retrieval day.
What?
It was insane. 50 follicles is what they retrieved. 39 were fertilized, and we ended up with 8 embryos that we sent out for PGS testing.
Wow, that's
My body
incredible.
really overreacted. It was insane.
And assuming you weren't on a crazy amount of meds?
No, I still talk to some women. I'm on an app that kind of is a community for women and mothers, and Yeah, there's a woman that going through the same process right now, and she's on about the same amount of meds that I was on. It was just normal dose, just your normal
Wow.
minipure doses and Polistim doses. So my body just really
Incredible.
overreacted.
So you definitely had OHSS. Poor thing.
Actually, they gave me a pill that kind of negated most of it. I was a little uncomfortable for
Okay.
a couple of days, and they said, "Don't drink water, drink Gatorade."
Yeah.
And I never really ended up in a lot of pain. It was fantastic because I know how lucky I really escaped on that one.
Good. You had a good staff behind you.
Yes, the team that I got to see, they were amazing.
Awesome.
Um,
It's so good to know.
so we ended up with, let's see, looking here.
Mhm.
We ended up with 8 embryos, sent them all out for testing. We ended up with 3 girls and 3 boys.
Oh,
A perfect.
wow. So you decided that you wanted to know at that moment, because I know we decided,
I mean, if I'm already paying X amount of money
right?
for IVF, and I've already paid X amount of money for all these IUIs, a bill to know that they're chromosomally, chromosomally normal and they have the best
Right.
chance, and I get to know the gender, that's kind of a drop in the bucket at that point. Just put it on my
Exactly.
tab. We're good.
Exactly. So, okay, you had 8, you sent them out for testing, you came back with 6, did you say?
Yeah, 2 of them were abnormal.
Okay.
We actually ended up losing 1 boy and 1 girl to being abnormal. So we had a perfect split the whole way.
Wow. Those are good numbers. I
Yeah,
mean, to have a healthy, 6 chromosomally normal embryos, that's great.
yeah, I don't think I want 6 kids, but
I know. And then there's always that. There's always that you have to, figure out later on. Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. But I mean, like I said, our journey was not, it was not a long journey, but it was still, it's a very alienating process because I know that you feel broken. Like my body is a bit is betraying me basically, and I know my husband felt an incredible amount of guilt, and he still does to this day. Um, and looking back, somebody told me, or I read somewhere, like, you're not broken. This is not your
Yeah.
fault.
That's
Nothing you
right.
do can change the path that you're on, and nothing you would have done in your past is going to change the outcome for right now.
Yeah.
It's not, this is the path that we were meant to be on. This is the journey my husband and I were meant to walk through together.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I think with that mindset, it brings a lot of reassurance. I know for me, it took me a long time to get to that point. But I think there's just a peace that comes over you when you realize, okay, no matter what the diagnosis is, it's not my fault. There's nothing that I could have done to avoid this. And like you said, I mean, we're made to go through this. And I'm thankful for me that, and when I talked about Mondo and I, that, we've just had the support and the strength to do that, to just get up and do it, and it wasn't,
mhm.
it wasn't easy, but I'm thankful that we had the resources and the
Yes,
will to say, let's do this. So for anyone who's watching this, you're in San Antonio, Texas, or you're close to San Antonio, right?
yes, I'm very close to San Antonio.
Okay. And would you mind telling people, for those who are in the area, since it sounds like you really like your
Oh, I
RE,
do.
which office you're at?
Absolutely. So my husband and I saw Dr. Erica Munch with Texas Fertility Clinic, Texas Fertility Center.
Okay.
It's in the Stone Oak area outside of 1604. She's fantastic. The whole team is amazing. Everything is
Mm.
done right there in that office, and the andrologist is right next door in the same building. It's fantastic. You
Wonderful.
never leave that building for anything.
That's so nice. That's so great. I had the same thing, and it was very, very helpful to just have all of that right there.
Yeah.
So the male factor that you guys were facing, I'm assuming it's the morphology. All of
Yeah, it was
that was
every
just
his
okay.
it was everything all across the board. Everything was very low. And
Yeah.
when they actually retrieved all the eggs and we were going through the fertilization process and the waiting process, we actually did find out I have some mild egg problems. So there could have been a little bit of give and take there with both of us, but it was mainly male factor infertility. But it was just everything across the board as
Yeah.
far as that goes. The morphology, the counts,
Okay.
okay, how their movement, everything. I
Right.
forget all the terminology now,
Right.
but
Because
it was,
it gets pretty complicated. So
yes,
I assume you guys did ICSI.
yes, we did do ICSI.
Okay.
We were given the chance without ICSI, but IVF without ICSI for us would personally have been probably close to a waste of money.
Right.
So,
Yeah. We chose to do the same thing. We were told that we would need it. And so we thought, you know what, let's do it.
yeah. And
So,
there, I don't know what it's called, but it starts with a Z. In my clinic, I guess not my clinic, but the Ovation Fertility right next door did it whenever they were doing the fertilization stuff. There's some kind of, as they described it, like obstacle course for the semen whenever after they've collected it, and they put it through this. That way, only the best sperm get to the other side, and they know which ones to use for ICSI. I don't know what it's called. It starts with a Z. I cannot remember for the life of me because I'm in the thick of it. My son is only 7 days younger than your daughter. So
oh my goodness.
Valentina was
I
April 22nd, right?
yes,
And
22nd. That's
Rowan,
right.
my son is May 1st. So very,
Oh, congratulations.
thank
So,
you.
how did you two decide? Since you knew you had three girls and three boys, did you just say, "Hey, you guys pick the best or one of the best embryos," or did you say, "Hey, I want a boy. I want to start with a boy"?
Um, my husband and I had always dreamed about having a boy. I mean, obviously, if you conceive naturally, you don't really get that option, right? But if we were gonna, if since we had to go through this whole process and we kind of got to choose, we both really wanted a boy, so we went ahead and chose a boy. But had we decided to go ahead and let them do the healthiest ones, the first two healthy embryos, the best ones were both boys as well, so it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah. And just because I know there's people who ask or who want to know what was he? Was he an AA?
Oh, our clinic didn't give grades on them.
Okay, some of them don't.
This one did not give grades on them. It was just kind of, it's a really good looking embryo. This one's it's already hatching. Actually, the one that we transferred had already hatched, so he was ready to go.
Yeah,
So,
my Valentina was ready to go too. She was just on it.
yeah, we didn't have the grading, so I can say personally, I don't even understand the grades. I know that AA is obviously the best, but then it all kind of gets foggy after that for me because I really don't understand it.
And you know what? I've learned that it doesn't it matters, but you can't focus on that all the time. So,
Exactly, because even the worst graded embryos can have a very beautiful outcome. So I feel
exactly.
like
I've seen a mosaic embryo come out to be a
exactly.
healthy, child. So, that's wonderful. So so your baby boy was born in May. So you
Mhm.
transferred about a week after we did.
Well, I think you went a little
No?
over
Oh, I
Valentine.
did.
So
I did.
our transfer was, I think I transferred, I think I was due almost a month after you. So my due date was actually May 2nd,
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
August 15th. Like I said, I've been following you for a long time.
Oh, that's so awesome. Wow, that's great. So thankfully, you went through the first cycle and it worked out. That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. And so tell us a little bit about like how it was for you two going into the frozen embryo transfer emotionally. What were you thinking? How was that 2-week wait for you? All of that.
All right. So going into that frozen embryo transfer, because I think at that point you're just on pins and needles waiting for those PGS results to come back. Because at that point they've already been tested and you're just waiting on those results. They're frozen. And for anyone listening, if you don't know, statistically, frozen embryos have a better chance of sticking around and making it earthside. So let that be known. Frozen embryos
Yeah.
do a little bit better. Um, I think I was really excited to start the process of doing the transfer. And when you start all of that estrogen, man, that estrogen hits you really hard.
It does.
I started having all the cravings, everything, and I wasn't even on progesterone yet.
Mm,
I wasn't even looking at my transfer date yet. And it was insane. You just start feeling hot, you feel sick. I mean, just the amount of estrogen your body has is just obnoxious when you're on those estrogen pills. I really relied on a lot of your videos for those progesterone oil shots because those are something else.
yeah.
Warm compresses and a lot of massages, and just keep
Yeah.
going. Um, going into the transfer, I was so nervous. I asked all the questions. I wanted to know what were the chances of a pregnancy, and if this is my chance of pregnancy, what's the chance of this baby making it earthside? So I asked all of those questions, and I was feeling positive and nervous and anything you can possibly feel. And then the nothing prepares you for the day that you do that transfer, because you have all of the hormones, all of the emotions, and I mean, this could have just changed your life. I mean, this one moment in this surgical suite could have changed your entire life.
Yeah, it's true. It's so
Yeah,
true.
I remember
Oh,
being just totally wrapped up in that day.
it's a special day. It's nerve-wracking, but it's also sweet. It's all the things, and you are hoping that that little embryo inside of you is going to make it.
Yeah, you just want them to check in and make a nice little home out of it for a couple of
E-
months.
Exactly. So I'm curious, how did you feel any cramps?
I never felt any cramps. The first thing that really, so our couch is really comfortable. I can sit on our couch all day long and be totally comfortable. And I think about 2 days after the transfer, my hips had started aching on the couch, which I thought was kind of strange.
Mhm.
And I am the kind of person that I have to test. I have to be mentally prepared for that blood test. I need to know what they're going to tell me when they call, because I don't want to be this babbling brook on the phone. So
Right.
I had been testing every day. Well, not every day, okay, because we all had a trigger shot and it was full of hormones. Um, I think 3 days past my 5 day transfer, I had a very faint positive, but I was pretty sure that that was my trigger shot still coming out. Um, 4 days past 5 day transfer, it was a negative, and then and I was working overnight at this point. I was working 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. It was hard. So
Ah,
I was waking up at noon, which is like the middle of my night, to take these tests because I couldn't. I was waking up because I had to. And then 5 days past 5 day transfer, I woke up about 3 hours into what would have been my night's sleep, and my stomach hurt like I hadn't eaten in like the entire day. And I was like, I went in the bathroom and took a test, and it was definitely a positive that day.
oh, that's so
And I from
cool.
that day on, I kept crackers in my nightstand.
Yes.
But
Yes.
there was no 2 week wait for me. It was just, I don't think it's like a true 2 week wait, especially when you're 5 days, because you've already got that 5 day jump. But
That's
I
true.
needed to mentally be prepared for whatever they were going to call me and tell me on that phone call. So I had to test. I had to.
That's great. I'm so glad it worked out for you. That's
Thank you.
wonderful. Yeah. So, if there's anything that you would have told yourself that maybe you would have done things a little differently, would there be anything that you would say?
Differently, I don't think so. If you're in the thick of it right now and you're second guessing yourself, don't go with your gut. You know your body. You have your own intuitions about what's going on with you. Um, I would say don't get hung up on the people around you getting pregnant naturally,
Mm.
and the people that are telling you just relax, it'll happen. Those people mean the best, even though they don't realize that they're actually hurting you. Um, I still have people say that to me to this day. If it happens again, you're gonna get pregnant naturally now. Like, don't get hung up on that. They don't know what they're saying. They don't understand the diagnosis and all of the medical studies that go into this stuff. Um, but I don't think I would have changed my path at all. I don't regret going to another doctor and really, really asking for what I thought I needed. Don't be your own advocate. Really advocate for yourself, because no one else is going to do it. And like I
Yeah.
said, that doctor works for you, not the other way around. That's not how it works. So,
Yeah.
especially, I feel like you would know that, especially with midwifery and you try to deliver with the farm. I mean, you really need to advocate for yourself. And,
Yeah.
doctors and OBGYNs, they're going to push what they want. And I mean, because they're medical professionals and they see what they want to see. But I mean, you really need to advocate for yourself.
Yeah, it's so true. I learned that very much into my journey, and it took me a while, and a lot of it, some of it was maybe it'll happen. Maybe it'll happen. Maybe if I just put it to the side and I listen to what some of these people are saying, maybe I'm stressing myself out. Maybe I shouldn't think about it so much. And it didn't happen. And
Yeah.
years went by. And I thought to myself, wow, okay, well, it's time to do something. And the IVF was our last hurrah.
Yeah. And it's easy to get hung up on that false hope, especially if you know that, if you already medically know that there's something wrong. Because I had gone as far as to even try the Ava bracelet. And the Ava bracelet, I think, is really kind of something that markets itself towards people with fertility problems. It tries to market itself toward people like us, but I really think that it's false advertising, and it's really trying to sell itself to people like us. And it it doesn't belong. If you know that there's an issue, don't even waste your money with the Ava bracelet. That's for people trying to naturally conceive that have no known issues. Don't get one of
Yeah.
those. Don't worry about that. So
That's good advice. You're young and you're so smart, and I think it's so great you've done your research, you followed your gut. That's so good. It's such a good reminder to others because it's not so easy for some people to do.
yeah, yeah.
And there are so many people who do just listen to what their doctors say, and
Find
hopefully
another
you have
doctor.
a
Keep
great
going.
doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Find another doctor. Keep going. Look up somebody else in your area. Ask around. That's all
exactly.
you can do. And I mean, reach out. There's a whole community of people going through or that have already gone through these things, and we're all willing to talk. We're all willing to share our stories. Reach out and talk to
Mm.
us. We'll answer questions. If you're in the thick of it and you want to know how this medication is going to affect you, and we've been through it, we're more than happy to answer those questions.
That's true. I love to help people out because
Okay.
I was that girl who was looking and researching and reading and watching everything I could. I'm sure like you did too.
Yeah,
That's great. Thank you, Tiffany, for sharing your story with us.
of course.